This morning's Bible reading came from 1 Peter 4, talking about suffering, the value of suffering, which is a very strange concept to, as humans, to wrap our head around. We tend to like comfort and want to avoid suffering, which seems like common sense. But this says Christ, verse 1, 1 Peter 4, verse 1, Christ suffered here on earth. Now you must be ready to suffer as he did, because suffering shows that you have stopped sinning. It means you have turned from your own desires and want to obey God for the rest of your life. And then verse 12 through 14. Dear friends, don't be surprised or shocked that you are going through testing that is like walking through fire. Be glad for the chance to suffer as Christ suffered. It will prepare you for even greater happiness when he makes his glorious return. Count it as a blessing when you suffer for being a Christian. This shows that God's glorious spirit is with you. Oh, that's pretty crazy. I think suffer as Christ suffered. God isn't calling us to suffer just because he's doing something that he sent his own son to do here on earth. Just the thought of being crucified on a cross and mocked and betrayed, and then comparing it to how easy my life is. And obviously that's not like that. Everywhere around the world, there's still people who are persecuted for their beliefs. But thinking about how Jesus suffered and how those early disciples and apostles suffered, majority of them being killed and murdered for spreading the message of God. And meanwhile, today in America, a lot of us don't know what suffering looks like. I don't know what suffering looks like. But how do we welcome suffering? And how do we invite ourselves to suffer? And I think it's just doing things that make us uncomfortable. And I think it translates to other areas of life. Growth comes through stress. Exercising, breaking your body down, builds it up. Eating in a way that maybe isn't fun but is nourishing, that builds us up. Putting ourselves in uncomfortable situations to grow builds us up. So how do we invite suffering into our life? It's something weird to think about. Don't be surprised or shocked that you are going through testing that is like walking through fire. I think a lot of people turn to Christianity at first thinking it's a way to make your life better, and it does in a sense, but that doesn't mean it's going to come without hardship. So what does that hardship look like? I think it's being called to be uncomfortable, having hard conversations, being vulnerable. As an introvert, having conversations with people I don't know and finding ways to bring God up in those conversations. That is uncomfortable for me. Not caring what other people think. I think that's a big one. And I think that's the closest we can get in this life to, I guess, invite suffering. Obviously, there's stuff out of our control that can happen, but how do we invite that? I think it's by getting out of our comfort zone and not being afraid to be laughed at or mocked. If that's the worst suffering we get, so be it. But I know for myself, I'm still so scared of that. I know what I should do in tough situations. I know there's times I should bring up God or be vulnerable, and I don't because I like being comfortable. We all like being comfortable. So how do we get out of our comfort zone? Maybe just something to think about. What does suffering look like for you? What does suffering look like for me? Count it as a blessing when you suffer for being a Christian. This shows that God's glorious spirit is with you.